My name is Everett Berg. I'm an alumni of the University of Saskatchewan and Johnson Shoyama Graduate School of Public Policy. I completed an MPA, and from there I actually had an opportunity to complete an internship through the UNDP UCAN Fellowship, and that was in Bangkok, Thailand, last summer 2012. I worked at the Asia Pacific Regional Center. I was in the Democratic Governance Unit. So there's sort of a handful of people working on democratic governance. My specific role was to work on a UN initiative called Legal Empowerment of the Poor. This was a major UN initiative that was started, I believe, in 2006. And I was chaired by Madeleine Albright and Hernando de Soto and a bunch of key players, and it was sort of a mandate to look at the law and to look at legally empowering poor people from sort of the bottom-up perspective and from a development perspective. One specific event that I worked on was organizing a conference on legal empowerment of the poor, and that was held in Hanoi, Vietnam. I was one of my other UNDP UCAN colleague, Deborah Singer, was there. She was. We worked very hard together to pull that together. So that was a really interesting, bringing UN people from all over the Asia Pacific region together to talk about legal instruments, legal mechanisms for specifically for helping poor people. You know, making the law work for everyone, having the law be a weapon for the weak. But specifically, day to day, it was in Bangkok. I was at this big, large UN center. It was a 4-month program. Got to meet a lot of very interesting and creative and innovative individuals from all over the region. We had different briefings from former deputy ministers. One was the former Minister of Finance from Pakistan. We got to sit in on some sessions. We did some planning and programming. They were doing research with Asia Barometer on the public perception of legal systems and of democratic governance. There was a whole team working on elections. Unfortunately, it wasn't a real ground level. You know, you see shots of UN people working side by side with poor people. This was on more of a governance policy sort of level. So we were working a lot with academics and a lot with institutions in partnerships with country offices in the Asia Pacific region. Like any government bureaucracy or hierarchy, there are different levels. New York is the headquarters, then you have different regional centers, and the mandate of the regional centers is to coordinate all the activities of the country offices. So as far as implementation, from my Bangkok internship experience, not really, but now that I'm working on a country office level, a lot more implementation. And now I'm currently working for UNDP, United Nations Development Program in Kabul, Afghanistan. The previously mentioned conference in Hanoi, Vietnam, led me to meet some different people from around the region, and some people working on legal empowerment of the poor, which is what I was there for. So in partnership with that, I met some people I invited some people from UNDP in Afghanistan, and obviously a lot of development work going on there, and there were some opportunities, and I followed up with some professional conversations, and they actually had a very new, or a second phase of a project that specifically had legal empowerment work that they wanted to do some recruiting for. So I put my application in, and through a long series of emails and phone calls and all the UN, protocols, I managed to secure a contract. So currently I'm a contractor to the UN I'm an international consultant working on economic, social, and cultural rights. That's my professional title. But specifically, I'm working on a project called JHRA, which is called Justice and Human Rights in Afghanistan. And we're supporting the justice system through our programming. And I'm specifically working with public participation and knowledge management, which then gets codified into helping street vendors, so the people that push carts on the street, working to enhance their labor rights and their business rights. These street vendors function in the informal economy, so they have very little or no rights and protections to their businesses and their livelihoods. The way that practically shapes out on the street is a vendor will be selling fresh fruits or some sort of goods or service informally, a haircut, meat, cosmetics, anything that they can sort of buy at a wholesale price. So they have a cart or even selling it out of a bag, and then the place that they sell is not secure. It's just in a public place. Maybe a local authority, a policeman or something will come along and either remove them, and there's no legal status for them to defend themselves in that sort of situation. About 80 to 90% of the urban people rely on street vending as a form of income, and when that business isn't protected, or that economy, their personal economic rights aren't protected or even addressed in the legal law codes, that makes for some problematic situations. So from a UN perspective, top down, we're coming with policy level dialogue. Bottom up, we're trying to work with street vendors to give them just some essential business skills, have some training programs hopefully for them. The capacity is very low from what I've gathered. The minimal amount of research that I've been able to undertake. People living on $3 a day, their livelihoods are dependent on this very informal market of transactions. UNDP is basically a catalyst for change. We don't go in and dictate answers. We provide the forums and the settings so that the Afghan people themselves can carry out the work. Ownership is a key goal. Having something Afghan-led, Afghan-driven, and sometimes they just don't have the support to get those things accomplished. So we give them that platform of support so that they can take over and carry out the job. Corruption is an endemic problem in Afghanistan, and you don't have to hide that. You don't have to skirt around that issue. It's serious, and it gets addressed at every single meeting. But corruption is also a very funny element. It has a variety of levels. It has a variety of ways of manifesting itself. And when you talk about corruption in Afghanistan, a number of things come to mind. A number of different elements come to mind. So you can't really go in and mop this thing up or just have a magic one bullet, one solution answer to this. This is something far larger, and everyone is aware of it. But it's an extremely complex problem to try and mitigate. I think every project has a component that works a bit on corruption, just sort of ethics and that kind of stuff. So that being said, it sort of has a limitation to it. So I'm not out there walking the streets all day. We're usually behind some closed walls and with some armed protection and that kind of stuff. But that is the lay of the land in Afghanistan, especially for an international worker. Afghanistan is that quintessential development country, and there's been development work going on there for many, many years. So they're ready to claim peace, and I would say that the majority of Afghan people are ready to see some of the development work actually produce some benefits. For me, what I like to do is show the Afghan people that I have a lot of respect and a lot of value for their culture. And you do those in simple ways by learning bits and pieces of the language, understanding little customs and traditions, because they're funny and they're unique and they're really interesting to try and understand. And I think the number one rule that you can count on, you could ask probably a whole host of UN workers, international NGO workers, is to listen.